All right, let's tackle a few more examples together. I know you are going to be a factoring pro. We have our first group. We have our second group. Let's see what we got going on, factoring out some greatest common factors. So here I've got 5 and -7. Oh, can't factor anything out of both of those. Those are prime. But then I have x squared and x. I can factor an x out there. So if I do that, then I need to divide by x to see what's left over. In the first term, this x will cancel one of these, and I'll have one left over. So my first term left over is 5x. Second term, x cancels x, and -7 is left over. That's kind of a big term, so I'm going to be really careful when I do this next one. Let's see. -5 and +7. Well, there's not anything I can factor out of 5 and 7, but my first term is negative. So I have to factor out a negative something. I'll factor out a -1 because that's something that I can divide by 1 and it doesn't really change anything. And I can divide 5 by 1 and I can divide 7 by 1. So it still works. It just isn't very helpful because nothing changes. Nothing gets smaller. But we do what we got to do to get rid of those negatives. So divide by -1, and what do I have left over? Well, here, my negatives will cancel. 5x divided by 1 is just 5x. Here I've got a positive divided by a negative, which is a negative. 7 divided by 1 is 7. And what do you know? Twins again. Love it. All right, so that means my twins can come out. They're one of my binomials. Bam, bam. And my loners, x and -1, they're going to cozy up together to become their own binomial. Product of two binomials, this polynomial has been factored. Done. Let's take a look at 45. All right, 45 looks kind of crazy. It looks kind of humongous, and that's okay because I'm a pro and I'm going to follow my steps just like I've always done. It's exactly the same, even when it looks crazy. So here I've got 2 and 2. Well, that's easy. I can factor out a 2. R squared and r, I can factor out an r. Now, to see what's left over, let's divide by 2r because that's what we factored out. So what's left over? Well, my 2's will cancel, one of my r's will cancel, and I just have an r left over. Here, 2's will cancel, r's, whoa, everything cancels. Remember, if you're dividing something by itself, 2r divided by 2r, well, how many times will that go into itself? 1. If everything cancels, then what's left is a 1. So r plus 1. Groovy. Next one, +3, I can factor out a 3 from there. I'll take it. R and no r. No factoring out of variables. No, that's cool. So what do I have left over if I divide by 3 and divide by 3? Well, here my 3's will cancel, and I'm left with an r. That's pretty self-explanatory. And here, +3 divided by +3. Well, anything divided by itself is just 1. They cancel, and there's a 1. +1, thank you very much. And twins are there. So I factor them out into their own binomial. Bam, bam. And my loners come together to make their binomial. Product of two binomials, this polynomial has been factored. Let's take a look at one more for this video, number 49. Group. I like it. 2 and -8. I can factor out a 2. N squared and n. I can factor out an n. Divide by 2n to see what's left over. My 2's will cancel. My n will cancel one of these, and I have 1 left over. Negative divided by positive is a negative. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And n divided by n will cancel. So there we go. All done. Now I have... This one has a typo in it, and I apologize. I probably typed it up super late one night. This should be a -4. This should be a -4. And this should be a -9. I'm not sure what happened there. I am so sorry, you guys. But if these are both negative, then this works. Because watch what I can do. I've got a 1 and a negative 4. Can I factor anything out? Not really, but I need something to go with my loner. He needs to have a friend. So let's factor out a positive 1, because remember, dividing by a positive 1 doesn't change anything. It doesn't change the sign, and it doesn't change the value. So even though there's not really anything that I can factor out from both of them, a 1 will work, because that can come out of anything. So if I do that, and I divide by 1, what's left over? Well, here, my 1's cancel, and I have an n. Negative divided by a positive is a negative. 4 divided by 1 is 4, and there we go. And this is how I knew it would work, because that was the only way for these to match. Now, I can put them together as their own factor. Ta-da, ta-da. And my loners come together to make their own factor. Ta-da, ta-da. And now I have my product of binomials, and this polynomial has been factored. Sorry that was a little confusing. Glad we caught it together. Remember, as you are working on your problems, if it really just is not working, circle it. Ask me about it in class, because maybe there's a typo. It happens. So don't stress. Do your best, and I'll see you in class.